You measure the post before you touch anything else. That is the first rule, and you have never broken it. The oak is green cut, still fragrant, pale as bone in the morning light. You run your palm along the shaft from base to tip. 6 feet of wood, the final foot tapered and sanded to a rounded point. Not sharp, rounded. That distinction is not mercy exactly, but it is the closest thing to mercy that exists in this yard, and you are the one who enforces it. The prince's standing order, delivered to you personally, and without elaboration on your first day of service. The point must not puncture the heart. Death must last long enough to be witnessed. You set the post into the pre-dug socket and check the angle, 3 degrees from vertical, leaning slightly toward the palace gate, so that whoever stands at that gate sees the face and not the back of the head. You have learned that this, too, is intentional. 23 posts today, arranged in a semicircle at 6-foot intervals, each one oriented the same way. You paced and measured the yard at dawn, alone, in the gray half-light that smells of turned earth and sawdust. The palace of Targovishte rises behind you, bone-white limestone catching the first pale gold of morning. The shadows of the posts stretch long across the dirt like sundial arms, each one pointing toward the city. You are the son of a blacksmith. You did not choose this work. Your father forged weapons for a boyar lord named Constantin. 11 years of service, honest wages, a copper coin pressed into your hand once when you were small enough that it felt enormous. When Vlad the Impaler came to consolidate his hold on Wallachia in 1456, Constantine was among the boyar class he identified as disloyal. The records of exactly who was executed in those early purges are incomplete, historians note, though the scope was significant enough to reach the Saxon merchant chronicles within months. What the records do not note is that men like your father, men whose only crime was proximity, were given a choice: the stake or the mallet. You chose the mallet. Your younger brother works in the palace stables. As long as you perform without flinching, he eats. The guards bring the first man through the gate just after dawn. Soft hands, expensive boots, eyes that have not yet accepted what is happening. You have seen this exact face 20, 30, 40 times. You have learned to see the face and register nothing. The craft protects you, you tell yourself. Precision is a form of distance. You set the mallet, you check the angle, you do the work. It is the same every time, except today the man being led through the gate is wearing an embroidered crest on his collar, silver thread on dark wool, and you know that crest. It is Constantine's house crest. This man, older, thinner than you remember, with a gray beard he did not have when he used to watch your father work the bellows, once gave a blacksmith's child a copper coin and told him to buy something sweet. Your hand trembles on the mallet. Just once, just slightly. You notice it. You say nothing. You proceed. That noticing will cost you everything. 3 months later, a delegation of Saxon merchants from Brasov arrives at the palace. According to Saxon chronicles from the period, Vlad's enforcement of trade law against merchants who violated his tariff system was severe and deliberately public. You do not read Latin or German, but you understand the outcome before it is announced. 17 men in a single afternoon. By the 9th, you have stopped registering faces. By the 14th, you have learned something about yourself that you immediately begin the work of forgetting. The craft does not insulate you from what it makes you. It only delays the accounting. One of the merchants speaks your language. Before the guards silence him, he asks you, not the soldiers, not the prince, you, how you live with it. You do not answer. The question buries itself in your chest, like a splinter you cannot reach. Too deep to remove, not deep enough to stop feeling. 2 years pass in blood and geometry. Your efficiency is noted. Your name reaches the prince. Vlad summons you to a palace feast in the spring of 1459, not to work, simply to stand. Attendance. According to multiple contemporary sources, including papal envoy records, Vlad was documented dining in proximity to impaled enemies on at least one occasion. Whether as calculated psychological theater or genuine indifference to death remains debated among historians. A Hungarian dignitary at the long oak table cannot manage the smell. He retches into his sleeve. Vlad watches him with an expression that contains no more judgment than a man watching rain, then turns to you and says quietly to have the dignitary's chair moved closer to the nearest post, not impaled, just near enough that nearness becomes the argument. You comply, and as As you comply, you feel it, the thing you have no right to feel. Importance. The prince noticed when you entered the room. In your father's house, you were a blacksmith's boy. Here, you are indispensable. The recognition lands in the same hollow place the merchant's question lives, and for one shameful moment, they coexist there. Those two things, and you feel neither the wrongness of one nor the rightness of the other. Just warmth. You bury that too, but the burial is shallower this time. The crisis, when it comes through your brother. He tells you, in the dark of the stable, between two enormous war horses whose bodies muffle sound, that a Boyar loyalist connected to the Danished faction has approached him. Past information, that is all they want. Horse counts, supply movements. Your brother, who is not stupid, but is young and underpaid and desperately lonely in a palace that does not see him, has not refused. You find the loyalist yourself 3 days later. You deliver him to the palace guard without ceremony. He is processed and executed within the week. You set the post. You make it smooth. You tell yourself the arithmetic is clean. One man who was already marked. Your brother alive and untouched. The debt paid in a currency you were already spending. What you do not tell yourself, because you cannot yet afford to. You chose the target. For the first time, the order came from inside you. The prince's machinery and your own machinery have become, in this moment, the same machine. Vlad summons you again, that autumn, privately. He tells you your name. Not your function, not your title. Your name. He says reliability is the rarest currency in Wallachia. He lifts a silver chain, heavy, a Boyar's ornament, the kind of thing men of your birth do not wear, and sets it around your neck. He tells you to wear it in the open. You walk out of the audience chamber with the chain cold and real against your collarbone, feeling the thing you have spent 3 years trying not to feel, pride. Your brother is safe. You have climbed by the only ladder available to a blacksmith's son in 15th century Wallachia, as high as a man in your position can climb. The reader sees what you cannot. Vlad does not give gifts. He issues investments. The chain is a leash, and it has just been shortened. The priest is small and elderly, the kind of man whose entire moral authority rests on the assumption that God is watching. His sermons, according to a palace informant's written report that you are shown without explanation, have characterized the prince's methods as contrary to Christian law. He has not named Vlad. He does not need to. The order comes to you, not a merchant, not a trader, a priest. You go to the church first. You tell yourself you are assessing. He is alone at the altar, arranging the cloth for the morning service. He sees you come in, sees the leather apron, and does not move. He asks you to sit. You stand. He tells you he has been expecting this visit for some time, and that his peace is already made. Then he asks whether you believe God watches what happens in that yard. You leave without answering. 2 days later, you return to submit your report, and discover a junior man in your service has already carried out the order in your absence. You did not refuse. You only delayed. The machine does not notice the difference. It simply fills the gap and continues. You have a line. The line is irrelevant. That spring, before Vlad departs for his campaign against Mehmed II, the 1462 military operation against the Ottomans is well documented, including the night attack on the Ottoman camp near the Danube. He issues a comprehensive internal security assessment of all palace personnel. You are shown yours. It notes your reliability, your years of service, your precision. It also notes, in the palace recorder's dry administrative hand, a hesitation requiring future observation. In Vlad's Wallachia, observation is the step before the order. You now see the full shape of the trap. You entered this service to keep one person alive. You stayed because you were good at it, and because goodness at something, even this, fills a space in a person that emptiness used to occupy. You rationalized each escalation the way you rationalize the angle of each post, as precision, as craft, as the least bad version of a bad thing. And now, the same cold geometry is being applied to you, and it is identical in every measurement to the geometry you applied to everyone else. A sealed order arrives at your quarters on the morning after the prince's return from campaign. Your name on the outside. One line inside. A name, a time, a location. The name belongs to your brother. You go to the palace and request an audience. The chamberlain looks at you, the way men look at a post being carried across the yard. You wait 6 hours on a stone bench in an anteroom that smells of tallow and cold plaster. No one comes. The seal on the document is real wax, with a real impression. The order is real. You go to the stables instead. Your brother is brushing a roan horse with the focused calm of someone who does not know. You watch him for a long time. He asks why you are staring. You tell him the truth. All of it. The full inventory. The first day and every day after. What you have done and what you are. And what the document says. You watch his face process it the way you have watched so many other faces process so many other things. And it is different from all of them because this face you love. And this face loves you back. And that has not been true of anyone you have stood across from in this yard since the morning you first picked up the mallet. He stares at you for a long time. Then he takes the fastest horse in the stable and rides north. You walk back to the yard. You pick up the mallet. You wait. The guards come at dawn with a new sealed document. Not chains, a document. The circumstances in the palace have shifted violently overnight. According to historical record, Matthias Corvinus of Hungary arrested Vlad III in late 1462, imprisoning him on charges of alleged Ottoman collaboration. The precise validity of those charges remains contested among historians, though the imprisonment itself is documented. The palace has entered suspension. All pending administrative orders have been voided, not by mercy, but by the bureaucratic fact that the man who issued them is no longer in a position to issue anything. The order with your brother's name no longer exists in any enforceable sense. You stand in the yard in the early morning, the silver chain still cold around your collarbone, the mallet still in your hand. The posts stand in their semicircle, 6 feet apart, angled precisely toward the gate. The machine you spent 6 years building and maintaining is intact and empty, humming with its own terrible precision, waiting for an operator who is not coming. Every death, every rationalization, every piece of craft applied in this yard. And the thing that saved you and your brother was a Hungarian king's political letter. Not courage, not refusal, not the line you drew too late to matter. Paperwork, all that geometry, all that smoothed oak. And the mechanism that was going to consume you consumed itself first. You walk out of Targoviste carrying the apron and the chain. One marks labor, the other marks favor. Neither comes clean. Vlad III, Draculea, remains one of history's most argued figures. National defender to some Romanian historians, calculated sadist to his contemporaries, cartoonish monster to everyone who came after. What gets erased in that argument is the workforce. Every systematized atrocity in the historical record required not just the person at the top issuing orders, but the people below, translating those orders into physical reality, measuring, positioning, executing with professional remove. The executioner is not the anomaly. He is the mechanism. He is, more often than the record preserves, someone who began with a specific and human reason. A brother, a debt, a choice made under duress in a yard that smelled like sawdust and turned earth. The road north does not answer what he becomes next. History rarely follows people that far. If this story made you think about the infrastructure behind power, drop your take in the comment and subscribe so you don't miss the next one.